everyone and welcome back. So we told you in our last video that we were going to be somewhere very special.
Yeah.
And we did also say that Michael and Florian were coming. Well, they didn't come in the end, so it's just me and Mo.
Yeah.
So we are in Limoges, which is right down, it's like 5 hours away from us, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the Chateau. And we are at the home of a charity called Legacy of Legends. And it's a really special charity and we want to show you guys. So it's a horse charity for elderly horses that have been competing, like top horses, and now they are here in this lovely area of France being looked after by a lovely family, and we'll introduce you to them later. But yeah, so that's where we are today, and we'll show you all of the lovely horses, the lovely family, and yeah, we'll get a bit more info for you about the charity. Here we go.
Let's go.
So everybody, this is Jenny and Nick Moon, and they are the owners of this beautiful house and also the charity that I told you about, Legacy of Legends. So yeah, so today I just thought we would tell all of you guys about what they're doing here, interview style, so they can tell you with their own voices what they're doing. And yeah, so guys, what is Legacy of Legends?
Legacy of Legends is a retirement home for elite sports horses that have lost their way in life or find themselves in unfortunate situations. We have our home here, and we've opened it up to be able to give these horses a safe place to retire. So.
Lovely. Yeah, so you've actually got some really famous horses here, haven't you?
We have. It all started in the UK 12 years ago, I think. We took on a former puissance horse called Epaulant de Fouquet, but at the time we didn't know who it was. We'd just been told there was an old grey day that needed a home, and at the time Nick needed a nice horse just to go out and do a bit of competing on. We went and picked him up, went and saw him, and unfortunately he wasn't in good condition at all, and me being very soft, I couldn't bear it and I had to bring him home. So I brought him home, and a very long story short, eventually got his passport and discovered that he was the world #1 puissance horse. Wow. And had been ridden by the world #1 rider. It was not the rider's fault. The rider didn't know when the horses retire, they move on. You know,
yeah.
like it's something you don't think about. And to be fair, at the time, we didn't think about it. It didn't cross our minds that this would even be, wouldn't happen to this horse, but it had. We contacted his original owner, and she had to sell him purely. Her husband had died suddenly, and she was left with no option. She was an older lady with no option but to sell a horse. Yeah. So she sold him. She didn't give him away because she didn't want him to end up in the wrong hands. So she sold him, and unfortunately, retirement didn't suit, and he found himself somewhere where he wasn't coping with retirement at all. He didn't have the level of care that he'd once had, and he was this very sad, forgotten soldier.
Yeah.
That for me it got to a point where I just said to Nick, we've got to do something about this. So hence Legacy of Legends, that it began. So that's what we did.
Yeah. So basically, at the moment, there's no sort of real legislation, or I don't really know what the right word is, but basically you've got all of these top horses that are competing for their countries, like the highest they can go. And then at the point of them being retired, there's nothing set in place for them, is there? So,
yes, so that's one of the biggest elements. Is it's not per se the owner's responsibility or the rider's responsibility, because lots of people choose to do the right thing. They find a good home, or they keep them at home and retire them, and that's fantastic. But even if they find them a good retirement home or another life, the problem with that is that there is no continuation, there's no track and trace in place, so these horses can just drop off the radar. So yeah. The idea is to get enough exposure to go to the federations, and the FEI being one of the leading federations who are aware of what we're doing, and say this is a massive problem, and we feel that the millions of pounds that's introduced into the sport through the sponsors and all the other stuff that goes on there should be a provision made for these horses at the end of their active careers. So it's not singling out riders or owners, it's actually saying to the federations, you need to put systems in place. And the good example of that, I guess, or one of the examples I use, is if you want to know where your spud comes from in Tesco, you can trace that to the farmer. So it's the system. There are things there, it just needs the federations to say, well, we have a responsibility, we're breeding these horses, they're our national horses, and we have many followers, we've got all these professional people who have livelihoods from them, but after that there's this big void. And so we're just trying to, yes, the legislation would be fantastic because it would protect them, but that ultimately needs the federations to stump up and say, yeah, we see it as a concern, and we know it's a concern, we've demonstrated it, and you can see that that's a problem, and everyone knows that there isn't anything in place, so it's working it round that way.
And you've kind of both seen it firsthand, being that you come from that background, like professional horse people.
And that's the other thing, like Jenny said, we never considered it because we were, for our own horses, like many professionals, we would, if we rehomed a horse or a horse came to retirement age and we didn't keep them at home, we would find a suitable home and then follow them through and keep in contact and do the track and trace. Well, how's he getting on, how's she getting on, what's been happening, and follow it through. And we have got beautiful stories of horses we're still in contact with now, but that being, it's not an exception, and say lots of people choose to do that, which is cool, but for the majority of people that it's not even on their radar, it's that's the concern, that's the bit we need to address. So and that's what we're trying to do through this media platform, all different platforms, is to say, how can we get enough followers, enough people, enough support to make the change.
And it's for it's for the horses. They we do owe it to them. We owe these animals so much more. Over their careers, when you think how many times they'd have been sold. I mean, how many people have brought them? How many people have had their clothing brands on the horse and made money off the back of it? And the horse gets old. It's not. I mean, like we said, it's not every horse. No. It's not every. So many. 80% of horses are cared for and loved right into their old age by many top riders and people that are lucky enough to have them. But we are finding more and more since going public. We are, Camphor Zed's story is a prime example. You'll meet him later. It's quite shocking that it can actually happen in this day and age. You would think that now there would be something in place just to protect them and to make sure that this doesn't happen. But unfortunately, it has, and we have a number of horses here that it has happened to, and there are proof that we do need to do something. So
how long have you actually been doing this for? Like, when did you start the charity and trying to get awareness for these horses?
The charity's only a year old. We only a year old for us going public. But Nick and I have been doing this for 15 years on the quiet and building up trust and getting people to support what we're doing and listening to our story and and letting people meet the horses I
think that's a really important. The trust issue is very important for professional people. So John Whittaker was the first person to give us a quote. He said, "What can I do? How can I help you?" And I thought, "How can he? What can he do?" And he said, "Well, what about a quote?" And I was like, "Wow, yes." He did, and off the back of that gave everyone else in the industry the confidence to say, "Well, if he supports it and endorses it, it's got to be okay. We're not going to look silly. We're not going to get caught out. There's going to be no, but it was a real opportunity, and I can't thank him enough for coming forward and doing that." And then David Broom, Ben, all those top people who've joined in to do, and so that they see there's a need. It's just how they, as professionals in the sport or having been in the sport, we're not asking them to change because that's the nature.
Yeah, because you're not trying to show people any of the bad stuff or trying to put anybody in a bad light. It's not about that for you, is it?
It's just about the horse.
It's the most positive and lovely and heartwarming thing.
Yeah.
All these horses, I mean, you got This is Epalan in the back here. He's just turned 30. That's his wife, we call her. She's 32. She's an ex-show pony that's been to Olympia and Horse of the Year show and has bred an incredible amount of foals. It's a lovely thing. It's so, you know, anyone that comes here, you meet these horses and they're old, you know, they're old soldiers. They're like, you know, they're veterans. They've done a really good job all their lives and they need celebrating, and that's what it's all about. It's about celebrating their lives and you know, and how passionate we are about our horses. You know, people love their horses and it's putting something in place to protect them and making sure that they have this, you know.
I think that's what, when I said...
And a dignified end, that's what they deserve.
And when I said to Sadie earlier, I was talking about it and I said, we don't have the provision, no one has the provision to home all the horses where they don't have a secured end. No, we'd have thousands there, we'd have truckloads arriving every day. What we're saying is, with the use of social media, with the use of the internet and the world as it is at the moment, what we can do is we can provide that tangible link. So we have on our website and through the charity, we have people that have the retirees, they do a little vlog and say, hey look, this is how so-and-so's getting on, whoever that horse is, and so we, through that, the public, we can keep track of what's going on. And that's a very simple but effective illustration of how easy it is. Because all it's a case of is saying, the people that have had the champagne dinners, oh look, there's my horse going round, have had the owners, have had those cherished times seeing those horses, that bit of it at one time or another ends, and we all know that. No one's in the spotlight forever, but it's just a case of saying they can be followed afterwards and they can be celebrated, and more importantly, it's that awareness. And I think that's something which everyone has a problem with, is changing the mindset and making it an issue for younger people, so that they think, well, actually, yes, we're breeding 300 horses a year, or I've just got this young horse, I know you've got a young horse. Well, it's that bit of, in the back of your mind, the responsibility of saying, well, what's going to happen? How am I going to ensure that the future's secure?
Yeah. Right, so Jenny and Nick are actually going to go and take us around to see the horses that they have here and give you a little bit of their backstory. And yeah, so let's go and see the old boys and girls.
Yeah. Maximus, or Maximus, depending if he's naughty, he's Maximus. And he tends to be naughty. He might be 23, but he doesn't think he's 23.
Yeah.
We got Max about 4 years ago. He spent all his life travelling, haven't you? We've got some amazing photos of him jumping, and one of his former owners in particular, from I don't know how many years ago, so pleased that we've got him, sending him and all the legends out a goodie box and been treating you, so you've landed right on your feet. He's a lovely boy. You wouldn't think he was 23. He rules the roost.
Yeah.
He has mood swings. He's got no back teeth, so he has to have his mush wiped all the time, don't you?
Oh.
Yeah, he's a lovely boy. So he came here to retire about 4 years ago, and has been with us ever since, haven't you?
No. He's lovely. Enjoying your treats? Yeah. And who's next door? He's got a neighbour.
So next door we've got Mr. Cantho Z, who caused quite a stir last year. We've only just had him a year. He unfortunately, his story had gone quite public before we actually got him, and we were contacted. Cantho was sadly he's jumped. He's Grand Prix horse, Grade A, jumped all over the world. Been on a plane, lived in Dubai.
Wow.
Princes and all sorts of owned Cantho, and again, not their fault. You can't control what happens to them once they reach that age, that retirement age. And he somehow managed to end up in Ireland with a fake passport. Had been stripped of his identity and was being sold as an 11-year-old Irish sports horse, which is slightly bizarre given that he's a 21-year-old purebred Zangerside, and has a nice big Z on his bottom to prove it.
Yeah.
He was intercepted by a young girl and her mum, who ended up buying him from a dealer. Got him home and were like, something's not quite right about this horse. It doesn't seem like an 11-year-old Irish sports horse.
Yeah.
And he ended up, they got the vet out, and he's got 2 microchips, and someone had tried to chip him and cover his true identity, so Sadly, it's horrible, but he's got a deceased horse's microchip in his neck, and his original microchip. And the long and short of it is, we said we'd have him, and we were a very kind company helped us ship him out, and he's had to have DNA tests to prove who he is and give him back his identity, and he's got it now. He's Camp Fo's dead again, and my goodness me, doesn't he know it? He is an absolute monster, but he's adored, and he's fully retired. He'll never be ridden again. He some horses like being ridden and like keeping going, but Camp Fo made it very clear when he arrived he did not want to be ridden. We walked up with a saddle and he did not want to know. So from that moment on, he's never had a saddle on his back. And he loves humans. He loves all this. He's so used to it. And he loves being groomed and he loves being trimmed, don't you? Yes, you do. Yeah, you're a lovely boy. So we're very, very privileged to have him here. He's a real part. He's a real moon. He's part of the family, and he'll never go anywhere. He'll be with us.
Yeah.
With us forever.
Right, shall we go over to the other stables? This is Princess
Cinderella.
I keep wanting to call her
She's from a
Princess.
fairy tale. She's had a fairy tale from what she's been through, bless her heart.
So Cinderella was the one that Nick rode out.
Yes, Cinderella. Nick rode her today.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's still in work. Not a lot. The kids ride her every now and again, and we take her around the block. She quite enjoys going to get the odd baguette from the bakers, and but yeah, Cinderella again. Her story was pretty sad. We've got told about her, and drove through the night to pick her up from a Belgian slaughterhouse.
Oh my God.
And it happened. We just happened to have been lucky enough to have been alerted, and Nick went through the night with the boys, and we picked her up and brought her home.
Yeah.
Since contacted her original breeder and owner, who's obviously absolutely over the moon that she's with us, and has really followed the story, and is fully on board. But yeah, again, it's
Yeah.
But she's really happy. She's a bit of a beast. She's only got one eye that works, and she's got a nice big lump on her side, but it doesn't affect her. The vet's checked her all over, and she's quite happy. Most loving horse.
Yeah.
Honestly, I swear she knows. She spends her whole time, like, she knickers whenever you come in. She wants to be your friend, and she's just all she's happy is food and sleep, and she's absolutely divine. I love her. Absolutely love her. Some of them really steal your heart, and she really stole mine. When she arrived, I was just.
Well, it's such a sad, from what could have happened and how you saved
I can't
her.
bear it. I just can't. The thought of it, the thought of what that animal was about to go through, it just ruined.
Yeah.
It just. Honestly, I have nights where I wake up and like in a bit of a sweat because I think, oh, we did it just in time. We got it just in time, And as I say, it's not every horse. Most of them are. It's just unfortunate, that at that point, once they've been sold. And a professional would sell the horse to someone they think is good enough. The horse gets a bit older, their circumstances change, so they sell, quick sale, sell them to a dealer. As soon as they're at that point in their life, it's an unrecognised horse. No one knows who they are. They just want to get some money. And unfortunately, her money, she was still at, we had to pay, with help of some very good friends, €800 to take her away from the meat man. And it's not something I'm going to make the habit of doing. I can't afford to. We can't. But she was, she's a. She's walking proof of what does happen. Yeah. She's still here. And much adored.
So who is this here, Penny?
So here we have Buddy, or Stas, he has lots of names. It depends on what we call him at the time. He came to us. He was a breeding stallion. He was owned by the same lady that actually owned Epalan de Fouquet. And because of what we'd done with Epalan, she contacted us and said, would you take him?
Yeah.
So when we got him, he was an entire stallion, and my goodness, a handful. And we had him gelded about 3 years ago now to give him some quality of life, because he spent his whole time just trying to get to the ladies. He had no quality of life, so we had him gelded, and he's been out with the herd ever since, and he's quite happy in his little life, doing what he does. Unfortunately, he does have navicular, which is getting worse, but he's under the vet, and we'll just keep treating it all the time that we can, and keep him on his pain relief, but he's happy. He's got his ladies, so it's nice to see him. He cuddles and kisses Cinderella, and you think, God, he'd never have had that chance. Really before he'd have just produced a foal. Bless him. He didn't even, had a dummy. He didn't even get a lady. So.
Yeah. Right, let's go round here. So So he's all protected from the flies with this, isn't he?
Yeah. So this is Magic, or Majahed is his actual. If I'm pronouncing that right, it's Majahed. He's from Kazakhstan. He's the last of his bloodline of Alcateki horses. He's the pearlescent colour, and he is truly stunning. And I'll give you some photos so you can see how he was in his heyday. We thought he was 21, and did a little bit of investigation and contacted the Alcateki Society, who have been looking for him. And it turns out he's 27. Oh. So it's been, I now know why he doesn't put on quite as much muscle and weight as I thought he would do, because he's a very old boy. But yeah, he's the last of his line. He was the best of his line in Kazakhstan. He was gifted to many high-profile royalty about, and one of his last owners was another high-profile oligarch, and then he came here and he ended up in France. He was a stallion at the time. He couldn't breed. He couldn't do what he needed to do. They're a different breed to look after. Honestly, the learning curve is, I can't tell you. And he wasn't thriving where he was. And they contacted us and said, would you take him? And I don't like to say like a fool, but I did. Well, we did, because he was, and yeah, he's hard work. He takes me, what it takes me to do with 3 horses, it takes me to do with him. But he's beautiful, and we love him very much. But yeah, we're so privileged to have a horse like this. The last of his bloodline. There's no more, and they're so rare. There's only 3,000 Alcatekis in the world, and he's one of the rarest. Hence the reason he was gifted to royalty and passed around, and then ended up here with us. He hasn't got an eye. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, we don't know what happened, but he basically rubbed it out, and we think there was something going on in the eye, because it was very, very blue. It was slightly different to this one, and so he had to sadly have his eye removed. It hasn't affected you. You're a bit more clumsy than you ever were, but he's a good boy, aren't you? He's still ridden. My eldest son Toby rides him, because he's very strong. They're famous for their strength, Alcatekis, their stamina and their strength, and he is so strong. I tried walking him. I thought, because he's not that big. I'd walk him, and I just walked him up the road, and he tanked back with me. I was running like with my feet in the floor. I was like, it was so impractical. I cannot do that every day. That was not. So yeah, Toby takes him out every now and again, and he's a monkey, a real monkey. He knows he's beautiful, and of course, once the sun hits him, he just shimmers. It's incredible. He's quite well known in the area, aren't you? People know when you're coming, so they can see this shining light.
Yeah, he's just like golden.
Yeah, incredible colour. It's taken him a long time to get that back. He's not been right. He's been poorly for a while.
He's so soft, and he's so soft.
Yeah, no, he is. He's quite an amazing horse. Not something we ever thought we'd own. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And as I say,
look at you.
Interesting to look after. When we first got him, it took us ages. They don't. Alcatekis don't have a normal diet, so he randomly had to eat raw eggs, because he has to have protein and meat juices. They were fed on meat juices, and didn't know how to eat grass. Put him on a grass field, did not know how to eat grass, had no idea, couldn't eat grass. Even now, to be fair, he chews the grass and then spits it out. So he has a real special diet, and we finally got the weight back on him again, and he knows it's lunchtime. How dare you talk about me and not feed me? So yeah, he's and he has to have all of the. He's got like a tent, because the flies, they get on his legs and they eat him. He's got skin like paper, so we have to keep him covered up, and he has special boots, and he's you're high maintenance, aren't you? You could do with no kids and other horses, just you. That would make life a lot easier, but you're worth it. He's beautiful. His nose burns. If you get him anywhere near the sun.
Pink nose.
That's it, he's burnt. So you go out looking like a knight, it's covered. I know, I saved this one for you. So this is Ertelander Fouquet. He is our ultimate baby. He's the reason we created Legacy of Legends. He turned 30 on Wednesday, I think it was, hence his birthday party.
Yeah.
And he is truly one in a million, and will be lost when he's not here anymore. But what he's left behind will be incredible. So we just celebrate every day, don't we? But no, he's 30 years old. But no, he's a Puissance horse, and he belonged to a lady called Pearl Moore, a lovely lady who we're really good friends with. Having contacted her because we had Erteland, he doesn't like flies. and we've since managed to get Ben Mayer, his former rider, supports us and really pleased to know where he is. And
Yeah.
no, he's a truly special boy, aren't you? Oh. You dare. So,
You get back.
So yeah, he's a truly special boy, and he's
Yeah.
absolutely worshipped by everyone.
Yes, you are. You're a lovely cuddly boy.
Everybody that knows him. You wouldn't believe, like, even at the age of 30, he's still got such strong legs. And,
Yeah.
you know, you can tell, like, his breeding was just so special. He's self-français, and so we brought him home, really, which is really romantic, because I contacted his breeders.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we cannot believe you brought him back to France, and, like, he's here. And they actually want to come and see him, which is going to be really hard for me, because I'm quite an emotional person anyway, and I will just cry if they come. And so they're in touch, and they're really chuffed to know that he's all right, and what he did in his lifetime. You know, he's so special. I remember as a child, you know, my dad buying tickets to go and watch Olympia and watching Eppeland jump, but not thinking for 1 minute we'd ever be here. You know, like these moments that we'd share with him, and here he is, and just the most special animal in the world, aren't you?
Yes.
Love him, absolutely love him. And at the back there, you've got little Liv. She's 32. She's ex-show pony. That's his wife. They won't be separated. It's, you know, they love each other very much. They used to live together, but they had a big fallout. So then they decided, so we've had to just put them next to each other rather than together.
Yeah.
But she was one of 14 show ponies that we rescued back in the UK. So she came over with us, and we've had her. She's a bit crooked. Bless her. She's very old though, so she's a bit crooked and a few ribs on show, but you can forgive her really at the age she is. So, but she's very happy.
Yeah.
So, and last but not least,
Yeah. So this is Udaya, and I'll let you explain more about her because you know a lot more than what I do.
Have a moment. She so Udaya came to us, I think, 3 or 4 years ago to retire. She jumped at the 2012 Olympics, and she represented both Egypt and Italy. She is a true princess. Likes to you'll groom her, and then she'll lay in every poo she can find. She's very much in control, aren't you? She's and she's the only horse here that is still actively ridden, I'd say, actively ridden, and we're not, we look to rehome when we can. Yeah. Hence the reason we're rehoming her with you.
Yes, so, everybody, this is Udaya, and she's going to be coming to the Chateau in a little while to come and live with Elsa and Queenie. Yeah. And Jenny and Nick have kindly offered for me to have her basically on a long-term loan basis, so she'll come and she'll live with us and be part of the family, but she will still hold on to the Legacy of Legends name, won't you, darling? Yes, you will.
She's not quite ready to retire. These guys are all very geriatric.
Yeah.
We have lots of bottom wiping and face mopping and and lots of noises that come from areas that they shouldn't, and they're very old.
Yeah.
But Udaya's not quite there. She's 21, but she's a young 21, and you know, the kids ride her out and we do stuff with her, but we haven't got time to do it all the time, and I don't think it's fair to just ride her every now and again when she could actively, you know, do a bit, and it would keep her supple and keep her well. So when you contacted us and wanted to come and do the vlog here, and you said about maybe homing one if we had one, she is the ideal horse.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to have her. She is beautiful.
That would be lovely, and also it spares us, without being too rude, you know, it does give us another stable. That if we find one in need, we can take them. So which is the idea really. Find happy homes for them, apart from you, of course. Happy homes, and give them a good dignified retirement and end. Yes, which is what they all deserve.
So, Dad, at the moment, he is at home making your new stable. I did mention it in my last video. I showed you some work being done, and yes, so that is for you. So you've got yourself a nice stable. Yeah. She's after treats because I did give her some earlier. But yeah.
You're all gone happy, but they don't care.
No.
Just have a drink. We're in the middle of filming. Divas, haven't you? Hey?
Oh, that's been a long time.
You're only going to be comfortable if you walk like a monkey.
Where's my horse? Huh? There you go. Thank you, Charlie. It's not fair. They have the horses and me. I'm following them, running. Come on, guys.